Ain't nobody teaching, please listen, nobody is teaching critical race theory, which we're gonna figure out what critical race theory is. So if you're watching this video and you decide to continue a false definition of what critical race theory is, you're an idiot. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. We're gonna get to the bottom line of what this really means. Hey, thank you for watching Power to the Pod, where we're committed to intellectual integrity and a moral honesty. I'm your host, Superior, and once again, thank you for watching. Now, in this video, I want to explain to you some really basic stuff, okay? When you want to look up a definition of whatever the case is, okay, make sure you are looking in like a Webster dictionary or someone who is highly known, educated, a reliable source when it comes to looking up a definition like critical race theory, CTR, okay? It still confuses me when people latch on to a narrative, and I would just assume that there's smart individuals who will take the time to look up the real definition or the purpose of a word or a drive or a community, whatever you want to call it, instead of going on and continuing a false narrative of a word. And Bill Maher, damn it, Bill Maher is the perfect example of someone who seems smart, but is the smartest dumb person I've ever seen. Let's take a listen.
It's time. It's 400 years that we've dealt with this, and our country still has not taken responsibility or accountability.
For what?
For the history of the systemic racism that's in this country.
What should we do more?
Well, I mean, for one thing, critical race theory, I think, is essential to be teaching.
It depends on.
Now, when once again, Brian Cranston, I hope I'm saying his name right, the dude from Breaking Bad, okay? I'm gonna call him dude from Breaking Bad, okay? I don't expect old boy to know, like, when Bill Maher said, you know, like what? Such a broad question, like, well, like what should we do? He should have those kind of questions for a Cornel West. You know what I'm saying? Someone who's well educated and already had these conversations with the best of them. But to ask, you know, randomly, you know, an actor, a white actor, like, well, what do you think should be done for, you know, slavery or what America needs to do? Like, that's such a weird question, but I didn't expect him to have a solid, thought out answer. You know, it was just on a whim, I'm assuming. They just having a conversation. But he brought up critical race theory, which is a start to having solutions, or at least figuring out, you know, if systemic racism does play a part in 2023. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a good start. But let's listen to what Mr. Bill had to say to that.
And what you mean by that?
Well, I mean teaching how the race trade and racism is systemic in everything we've done in government, in social activities.
Yes, it has been.
I mean, it's embedded in it.
But critical race theory can mean it's just one of these catch-all terms. If you mean we should honestly teach our past, of course. If you mean more what the 1619 book says, which is that it's just the essence of America and that we are irredeemable, that's just wrong. It's not.
I mean,
okay.
I agree with that. But even teaching our past and being honest and owning up to who we are as a country in the history of it.
Most schools are doing that. I mean, I'm sure there are ones in Texas that are not.
Look, in Florida,
in Florida.
They want to do away with critical race theory in a lot of other states.
Because sometimes it veers off into things that are really not appropriate in schools.
So how do you govern that?
If you're telling 5-year-olds that you're either an oppressor or someone who was oppressed, you're introducing ideas about race that are inappropriate for kids that age who can't understand it.
Okay, so
Okay. First off, let me interject here. First off, critical race theory. I didn't know what that was until, the past year or two when it really started to become a thing. Ain't nobody teaching, please listen, nobody is teaching critical race theory, which we're going to figure out what critical race theory is. So if you're watching this video and you decide to continue a false definition of what critical race theory is, you're an idiot. Okay, I'm just going to say that. We're going to get to the bottom line of what this really means. Once you figure this out, no one's teaching a 5-year-old critical race theory. Like, are you kidding me? Once again, this is disingenuous people mixing up the definition so idiots like this could be like, yeah, they're teaching our 5-year-olds critical race theory and how to critically think about systemic racism in our society and industries and corporate. Like, really? You don't think they're teaching 5-year-olds how to read, how to write, how to, addition and subtraction? No, you think they're teaching kids about critical race theory. I should probably make a video asking my kids who's 8, 9, and 11 what critical race theory is, and I guarantee you they're gonna look at me like, nigga, what you think? What you talking? Critical what? So once again, Bill, what are you doing with your time? Figure out what this actually means and then have an argument on the table.
Common sense would govern
Common sense
that.
is what's lacking in this country.
You need.
That is why people wind up passing laws about that. And yes, you're right. Very often the laws go too far, but it's not coming out. It's not coming from nothing.
Okay. Let me go ahead and go to full screen here, because trust me, there's more. There's more. What Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida, he's literally trying to change history, Black history. He's trying to literally whitewash Black history. He doesn't care about if it's true. He doesn't care about if they're teaching, middle school. Like, he doesn't want that taught, period. I guarantee you, if we was to ask him, tell us what Black history is, tell us the history of Black people in America, he wouldn't have a clue. He wouldn't have an idea. And if he does, it's probably completely wrong of what dozens upon dozens of scholars already proven and already discussed. Black history isn't a new thing. This has been discussed for obviously years. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a new thing that we just wrote upon as like, oh, Black people have a history here in America. Let's figure this out. No, what Ron DeSantis is trying to do is keep people in the dark of Black history, because that's what his racist voters want to hear. They don't want to hear nothing about Black history and reparations and Black people being treated wrong in America. And they don't want to hear it. They get uncomfortable. So of course they don't want their kids to hear it, because it might make them uncomfortable. It might make them look at the world a little bit different. Like, that's a little weird that, systemic racism might be a thing. They don't want to hear that. So let's hear some more dumbness fall out of Bill Maher's mouth. Let's take a listen.
It seems like they feel like the worse I think things are, the better person I am. That's what I get from a lot of the left, Yeah. I think things are worse than you do, so that's what makes me good. And I just want the reality. See, to me, this is the difference between liberalism and wokeism. Liberalism is about lifting people up.
Okay.
Woke is just about self-loathing and hating yourself and scolding everybody and virtue signaling. It doesn't actually help anybody. Lifting people up who have gotten a bad shake in this country, who are for some reason downtrodden or have been cheated, absolutely. I've always...
Okay. Whoa. All right. Let's go ahead and break this down. First off, Mr. Bill, how many laws and legislation have you backed when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to minimum wage, when it comes to education? Last time I checked, neither, because you said that was too progressive. You know, that was doing too much. Really, so that's okay. Let's not even, because that's a whole nother video on its own. When it comes to being woke, once again, these weird definitions that people like Bill Maher, for whatever reason, would attach to because it's easy to go along with that narrative. Being woke, or the word woke, has been used way before the past couple of years. I am so confused on why people are treating the word woke as a bad thing. I used to hear older black people when I was younger, obviously, be like, hey, brother, you need to wake up. You know, you need to wake up to the society that you're living in, brother. You need to open up your third. I'm pretty sure you heard, you know, some of the in movies or whatnot. But being woke just means being aware, being hyper vigilant to the world that you're living in. You know, just stop walking through the world as a zombie and just going from point A to point B, just brain dead. Kind of open your eyes and kind of look at the world through a different perspective. You know what I'm saying? That's all that being woke means, is that you're aware. Is that a bad thing to be aware? But once again, the whole definition of critical race theory. Now, let me go ahead and pull this up here because this is proof that there's disingenuous, bad faith actors who purposely will take information, twist it, flip it, roll it around to be used against people. Now, this is Christopher F. Rufo, okay, on Twitter. And this was March 15, 2021. So this was just a couple years ago. And he had the nerve to say the quiet part out loud. Now, why do they do this? Maybe as a flex, maybe to be like, I could say this and still people wouldn't think twice. But if you look into his history, he has a lot to do with right-wing propaganda. He's one of those guys, you know what I'm saying? Do the research. This is not that video going into his history. Do the research. It'll surprise you. But he said, we have successfully frozen their brand, critical race theory, into the public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions. He's doing it. He's doing it on purpose. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all of the various culture insanities under that brand category. So tell me why. Tell me why he ain't. Tell me why, okay? Why do people continuously, purposely be stuck on stupid when it comes to common sense information like this? Like I said, nobody is teaching your kids, your 5-year-olds, critical race theory. Now, let's take a few seconds to learn what critical race theory is. And like I said, if you're not watching this part of the video and you purposely want to be stuck on stupid, I'm going to call you stupid. Okay, I'll probably call you a lot worse in the comments. Don't try me, player. Don't be that guy, because I will call you out. All right, let's listen to what critical race theory actually is.
Let's just start with a basic definitional question. When you hear critical race theory over and over again, what should people understand? How do you define CRT?
So I first want to just make a distinction between CRT, which is a theoretical framework that I learned in graduate school, read about in graduate school, versus teaching about race and racism in American history critically. So critical race theory is a framework. It's a theoretical framework that was developed in the 1980s by legal scholars to help us understand how it is that structural and racial disparities endure in our society, and how that is actually engendered in some of our laws and policies. And so the idea was to get us to think systemically, as opposed to just thinking that racism manifests by individuals just mistreating each other, that there are actual structures in our society that create these different kinds of racial gaps and racial disparities economically, in terms of housing, in terms of education. And so that's what they do, is that they actually show us how the law, how laws that are supposed to be neutral actually can promulgate or support racial disparities. That's a theoretical framework. I think what we're talking about today, though, is some contestation and conflict over how you teach about race, racial hierarchies, critically, racism in schools and society. And so the two are being conflated.
And so when you hear people talking repeatedly about critical race theory, what is your thought?
Well, I hear people talking about critical race theory. I see that as a straw man for many communities, politicians particularly, trying to shape the knowledge base and what we teach students. I think that there is some fear about raising consciousness about structural inequality, about structural racism, because it does implicate many of our practices in our society. It indicates what we would have to do differently in government. And some of that is ideological, in terms of there's a lot of resistance to how we do things to be fairer and more just in our society. So, you know, there are a number of, I read a really good article just yesterday in the New Yorker about the origins of this conflict and who's behind it. And it's a concerted effort by many on the right to mitigate the extent to which we really augment and increase the understanding of racism in our society.
Damn. Okay. Like I said, you need to be well informed when you get information from other entities, even myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the smartest dude out there. I'm still learning and educating myself as time goes on. Fact check me all you want. And if you do it graciously and you come at me correctly, I even say, hey, thank you for the correction. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I could be wrong on some particular subject. I might throw a different number that's, you know, I said there's hundreds of countries in Africa. Someone in the comments was like, well, there's only like 50 something. I was like, hey, you know what? I spent 2 hours, you know, just live streaming. You know what I'm saying? I got my numbers mixed up. Thank you for the correction. But it is different when people are purposely giving out false information. Just like old boy said, he's trying to make that word as toxic as possible. And hearing Bill Maher just continue to talk as if he knows what critical race theory is and is being taught to 5-year-olds, like, that's different from Black history or America history being taught. Those are two totally different subjects. But yet he wants to pretend or assume that critical race theory is being taught to 5-year-olds. And now, for some reason, critical race theory is going to make people gay for some reason. So, bro, please, if you learn anything from this video, please understand what being woke is and critical race theory is. Let's have that conversation.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people, power to the pod.